We must begin with what appears most innocent. A juice. A walk. A yoga pose. A soft voice urging mindfulness. An app that counts your steps. A bracelet that monitors your sleep. You call it wellness. But let us interrogate what this truly is, not the liberation of the body, but its governance. Not the care of the self, but the surveillance of the self. This is the age of the disciplinary body, no longer coerced by authority, but willingly subjected to regimes of optimization. You wake early. You hydrate. You stretch. You meditate. You record your food. You monitor your mood. You track your macros. You perfect your morning routine. You call it self-love. But the self that is being loved is the self that performs control. The self that is calm, productive, efficient, clean. The self that can be marketed. The self that complies. What we once did under obligation, rise, wash, conform, present, we now do under the banner of autonomy. But make no mistake, the architecture remains. The self-care routine is not a rebellion. It is a reinvention of the timetable. The gym is not freedom. It is a new panopticon, where the mirrors are no longer glass, but metrics. Calories. BPM. Sleep scores. Step counts. You are always watching yourself. You are your own warden. You train the body not for joy, but for efficiency. You rest not to restore, but to resume productivity. You eat not from intuition, but from the authority of the plan. You meditate not to wander the mind, but to discipline it. This is not care. This is a quiet violence. A violence of soft tones and minimalist aesthetics. A violence masked in pastel colors and branded self-optimization. It does not scream. It whispers, do better. We once feared control from outside. From governments. From police. From bosses. But in 2025, power is internal. It is wearable. Trackable. Shareable. And it is sold back to you as liberation. The freedom to be healthy. To glow. To thrive. But on whose terms? What if the obsession with health is merely another script? Another syllabus of conformity? The body has become the site of capital. It must be lean. It must be disciplined. It must be visibly in control. Even body positivity is now monetized. Even authenticity is curated. There is no outside. There is only a constant loop of performance, watched not by others, but by yourself. Foucault once said, "The soul is the prison of the body." But now, the soul has been replaced by the data profile. The spreadsheet. The wearable. The goal. And we imprison the body in routines and metrics, all in the name of freedom. Ask yourself. Do you move your body out of pleasure or out of pressure? Do you breathe because you want to or because an app reminded you? Do you rest to recover or to return? And if you were to stop tracking, optimizing, improving, who would you become? What happens when care is no longer an act of love, but an act of compliance? Let me leave you with this. What if your best self is just your most disciplined self in disguise? And who profits when you confuse control with care? But what then? If the rituals of wellness are performances of control, what is the alternative? Must resistance appear as laziness? Must rebellion manifest as gluttony? Shall we resign ourselves to the sofa, claim sloth as liberation? Of course not. To reject the disciplinary regime is not to invite collapse. It is to reimagine care. The issue is not movement, or nourishment, or rest. The issue is why, and for whom, and under what gaze? We must ask, whose standards have we internalized? When we say fit, we mean lean. When we say healthy, we mean visible control. We applaud the tight waistline, the chiseled jaw, the radiant skin not because they are universal signals of health, but because they conform to a particular cultural fantasy of legibility, of productivity, of discipline. And we forget that in other times, other places, to be round was to be well. To have softness was to have status. To be full was to be fertile, feminine, divine. This is the tyranny of health as aesthetic. We have forgotten that to live well does not mean to look small. We have confused functionality with appearance. We do not move to feel, we move to burn. We do not eat to nourish, we eat to control. We do not sleep to dream, we sleep to recover and return. But what if we lived differently? What if our lives were seasonal, aligned with the rhythms of the land, the moon, the self? What if food was communal, and movement was spontaneous? What if rest was not earned, but inherent? What if care was not extracted through effort, but flowed naturally from our environments? In such a world, would we need spreadsheets for our macros? Would we need to track, measure, optimize? Would we need to earn our right to exist within the limits of a waistband? No. The need to dominate the body arises from a deeper belief that the body, left alone, is unruly, dangerous, in need of command. This is the logic of the prison, the factory, the school, and now, the wellness industry. The body must be shaped, trimmed, hardened, honed. It must signal that it is under management at all times. But let us imagine care as rebellion. Let us imagine movement that emerges not from punishment, but from joy. Let us imagine food not as fuel, but as ritual. Let us imagine rest not as a pause, but as a philosophy. The revolt is not in decay. It is in deprogramming. It is in remembering that your body is not a project. It is not a brand. It is not a billboard of self-discipline. It is a living archive of sensation, memory, desire. So I ask you, when did health become a performance? And what would it truly mean to be well, outside of the algorithm?